Is it over for crypto? The United States has declared a war on the entire industry as Gary Gensler has came out and sued the Uniswap platform. Today, guys, we're going to be diving into which crypto should you be paying attention to, why are these altcoins dropping by 50%, but more importantly, what is about to happen with the Bitcoin halving? It's time to discover crypto.
Capital flight is coming to the United States. The dollar is going to zero.
And that's what makes Bitcoin so special.
You have to have gone through a couple cycles to understand.
Once the price is able to clear this level, the breakout is on its way.
This is your indication to jump in now.
Wide angle works perfect for me here, Drew. Yeah, we got a special guest joining us today. I am super excited. Matt, welcome to the stream here today. How are you feeling? Happy? Is it Friday, Thursday, Wednesday?
It's Thursday. It feels like Friday,
Man,
though.
It is going quick. I mean, it's just like a roller coaster right now with Bitcoin. We're at 60,000. We're at 70,000. We're at 75,000. Drew's making money. Nick's making money. Everybody's making money. Are you making money?
You know, ordinals have been very, very nice recently.
That's where we just need to end the stream right there, is because Bitcoin's ecosystem is about to pop off. And shout out to you for having any ordinals in the portfolio there. We are looking at Bitcoin here at $69,000. Just gave everybody a panic scare in the chat. And good morning to everybody out there. MFer Gensler here from Xavier. Yeah, let's get some L's in the chat for Gary Gensler. That dude just needs to be fired at this point. Ethereum at 3,400. It's right under 3,500 at this point. Solana, $171, down 1%. BNB, 600. XRP still at 60 cents. We've said that every day for the last 4 years at this point. We have Dogecoin, 19 cents. Toncoin down below $8 now. But for the top movers, you guys know the drill. You need to smash that like button, because the more you like the stream, the higher the chance your guys' project's going to be in the top movers in the last 24 hours. We're looking at Neo. Man, who holds Neo in the chat? I don't think anybody at this point, but up 20% in the last 24 hours, up 50% though here in just the last 7 days. Then we have Tau BitTensor getting a little bit of a bounce after AI has definitely seen a pretty big pullback, up 21%. We have BitGet token in third place at 9.2%. And a project I've never heard of that is now in the top 100, Whitebit. I'm guessing another exchange listing or exchange token there for you.
How about that VeChain, though? We're getting closer and closer to a nickel. I know there's a lot of VeChain holders in the chat right now. A lot of people got in at a nickel. Didn't sell at 25 cents, then rode it all the way back down. You're shaking your head. Did you buy some VeChain?
Oh, yeah. Had the VeChain. Gotta love the use case. And you get in there and it's 20, 25 cents. And you're like, this thing's going to the moon. And here we are at a nickel. So let's re-scoop those bags. What do you say?
No, because it used to be a penny or two. So I don't know if I want to buy right now.
A fraction of a penny.
Yeah, let's actually pull that up real quick. If we look, look at that. It hit above 25 cents, was looking really, really good at one point. And yeah, you can get 1.5, so right around a penny, could have got in. So if you got in at a penny, it looks pretty good. If you got in at 10 cents, you're still a little frustrated right here. But, just good victory for the VeChain community. It's a strong community.
Yeah, and I'm definitely interested in checking out. I gotta type it in. MNW. This is gonna be a competitive. Yep, of course, following it as well. It's at $1.14, much smaller market cap, but insane tokenomics. I mean, if we click on that market cap here, this is one of those projects that did very well in the middle of the bear market. Hasn't taken off just yet. Went up to about $1.50. But those supply chain ecosystems do look like they're starting to gain a little bit of steam. And it's one of the best use cases, I think, for crypto. I think supply chains and like logistics was the first key area that, okay, there's actually utility to crypto versus just some random, 14-year-old on Twitter with an anonymous account dropping poop coin. So it was a very good turnaround for the markets in the last ICO cycle here. But we're looking at the top losers now. We have the Uniswap. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, guys. Yeah. Uniswap is down the most today, down 16.8%. Right behind that, you're going to have Nervos Network, 16.3%. Then Phantom, Zebek, Lido, Aave, Filecoin, The Graph. What's interesting to me is we don't see more DEXs in the top, losers in the last 24 hours.
I was thinking the same. I was surprised that you don't see Jupe. You don't see, Jupe's really about the only one that is in the top 100, but I'm surprised Jupe isn't right there, right behind it.
Oh, that would be true, because I am looking at the top 100 there. I honestly, let me click on this, guys. Let's pull this up. So Uniswap, when we look at the monthly, I mean, it's a giant cliff right here. We have a massive cliff that just dropped off the face of the earth. And that's because right here, Gary Gensler was standing. Okay, and he decided to jump off of it. He was just like, let's free fall this thing. So that is because of Gary Gensler and the SEC announcing that they will be suing the Uniswap Foundation. You can type, 1 in the chat if you think they're, free of this. They're not guilty. Type 2 if you think Uniswap is guilty. But right now what we know is there is an attack on crypto. There's an attack on DeFi. The US does not want any single on-ramp or off-ramp controlled by some decentralized organization. They want to control every single point of control. So that way they can tax you, track you, the whole 9 yards while they fail their audits over and over again.
Tax you, track you, then attack you. I like that.
Yeah, it's just it's a lot of vulgar. It feels like it's just like it's not. It just feels like
it feels like the
Act,
Empire. It feels like the Empire from Star Wars. I heard this analogy yesterday, and I've really been thinking about it. Are we the Rebel Alliance, or is the government the Empire? The government's it's full blown Empire mode right now.
Definitely. So who's our Luke Skywalker?
You are Luke.
I'm Luke. I can't be Luke, dude.
I'll be Padme.
Yeah, you'll be Padme.
Yeah, I'll be Padme.
We're not redoing. Oh wait, no, that's not the.
Misa Jar Jar Binks. Sorry.
He's like, I'm Princess Leia. We should redo the scene. Whoa, hey. Okay, well, let's click on decentralized exchanges here. Shaking his head. Yeah, they're so actually still surprisingly looking at the top, decentralized exchange ecosystems out there. Uniswap definitely down 17.6%. The rest are in the red here. I want to click on the top loot. So Merlin Swap is the gainer from this. So while Uniswap fell, a couple of the dexes out there have seen some profits. That's Pangolin, so Avalanche's ecosystem. To be honest, I've never used Merlin Swap, Checks token, met Alex. I don't know. Have you met Alex before?
I've not met Alex. But one thing about this Uniswap sort of decline is also probably exacerbated by the fact that they went up like 50% 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So this is also people just taking profits. It definitely two things happen at the same time.
So you're saying that charts don't go up and to the right forever?
Not unless they're hex.
Well, that's down into the right forever. Okay. We need some CPR on that chain right now. But the top losers, we have Veller, which I believe actually, this is why everybody we were talking about this in the chat last night. This is a very small market cap, 13 million. I think it's a DEX that just launched on top of either a side chain for Bitcoin or it's on top of Bitcoin directly. But you have Dairy Protocol, 16.8%. Kyber Network down as well. Spirit Swap, Spooky Swap. Ooh. Rabbit. Dude, Spooky Swap was hype last cycle. Hype. I don't know if you guys got into Spooky. This is.
I remember I missed the boat, so I never jumped in. If you look at, you still have the DEX thing pulled up. If you go to the 30-day and look at the biggest gainers, Aerodrome top 3, and then Velodrome top 5 for the 30-day gains right there.
At the top of the look at that. Both the ones we've called here. I wonder if we're onto something, DZ.
So we didn't call Walt Swap with the $8,000, but when you look at the 24-hour volume, it's $10,000. So just like that thing rose, that thing can fall too. Be careful.
No
try
liquidity.
To chase the Walt Swap pump right there. You might get wrecked.
We have Roosevelt here at the super chat with the Wells notice against Uniswap. Is it time to sell Arrow? I'm up 150%. So we are going to have, believe it or not, another special guest join us today where we dive really deep into this topic. We're going to be covering this with Matt, of course, and just it's going to be a huge conversation because I don't believe, personally, this is actually negative for the industry. It was kind of already predetermined. Everybody knew. They already came for the exchanges. They were trying to stop Bitcoin somehow, and obviously that's impossible, but they still tried and attempted. So it was only obvious they're going to come after stable coins and, of course, the DEXs, because once they control those on-ramps and off-ramps, that's all they care about, right? This is Wall Street 2.0. People think this is some, let's go escape the banks. No, the banks are in every single corner, every single pocket, and they're going to make sure that they get their share of the pie. So, we'll get to that in here in just a little bit. But for the first article, so everybody knows what's happening in crypto today, the SEC has sued Uniswap DEX amid DeFi regulatory crackdown. The SEC's move was signaled through a Wells notice issued on Wednesday, and it comes amidst the ongoing regulatory scrutiny facing the DeFi sector. They're scared of DeFi. Why are the banks scared of DeFi? Because DeFi is making tons of money that the banks do not see at all. And they're like, oh my goodness, this is a solution to fractional banking? You mean people trust crypto, they don't trust us. We need to take this out because we need to get that trust
Wait
back.
a minute. My take is they want guardians. They want they want the gatekeepers. They want to be. They want a whole ecosystem filled with gatekeepers. So why do they want gatekeepers? They want to control the gatekeepers. And so when you have decentralized exchanges, they don't have anyone they can attack except maybe the guy who wrote the code. But then, say that person's anonymous, like Satoshi Nakamoto. What can the government do at that point? They are powerless to stop it.
Yeah, it's kind of like 1913 when a bunch of white dudes got into a room and were like, you know what, we should control the money supply. We should be able to determine whether or not we're going to print more money or budget the money.
I thought you were
and
going to talk
they
about the
never
Titanic.
budgeted the money.
Talking about the Titanic?
Oh, well, I mean, hey, look, was the Olympus,
That was
was
a
this on
ship full of
purpose, was
stuff.
JP Morgan? We've
Yeah.
all gone down that rabbit hole with the submarine over the summer or 2 summers ago. I don't even know at this point. But yeah, I don't know if you have thoughts on that. You know, why are banks coming after DeFi? Why is DeFi such a polarizing topic for the institutions?
I mean, they make millions and billions of dollars in fees, right? So this is a complete vacuum suck of all the potential fees that could come from them. And as we see these ETFs proliferating, the market's getting more mature, more and more money is going to flow into this. $2.4 trillion, $2.6 trillion is already out of the traditional ecosystem and into these decentralized ecosystems and in our hands. So it's only going to keep going up, and they're terrified.
Oh, they are scared. And the SEC has had its eye, because they've been so scared, on this leading Ethereum decentralized exchange for quite some time. So back in September 2021, the Wall Street Journal revealed that the regulator started digging into Uniswap Labs. So this has been happening for over 3 years now. They were curious about how this exchange lets users trade directly with each other, bypassing traditional middlemen, which just means, you know, not giving the bank their cuts, and also has allowed it or pitched to American investors. So of course, Americans are jumping in on this like no other. Now, if we look at the chart, of course, oh my gosh, it is just ugly. This is Uniswap's chart, guys. So this is the daily. So this came out, this news, you'll notice. Let me get the lines here for everybody. Let's go ahead and draw it right there and then pull out the marker. So this red candlestick right here, this one that has the first drop, this was yesterday. Today, Uniswap is still bleeding, and it doesn't look like we're going anywhere. We're trying to find, you know, we're catching a falling knife at this point. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this green candlestick, this giant one, this is from the announcement of the proposal that they were going to start sharing revenue with the stakers, with people that wanted to help with the governance of the platform, etc. Now, of course, they were like, maybe we shouldn't do that because we're making too much money. That is actually where I think the red flag kind of was thrown. That's where the SEC came in and goes, all right, we're coming in, because there is too much money being made here. And honestly, I think this should really give Uniswap I don't know what the right word would be, you know, for this, but just make them second guess or, you know, rethink what they decided over this proposal. I think that the holders, if that was distributed, there would have been a much larger argument for the decentralization aspect.
You said a phrase right there that I want to double click on. You said they're making too much money. Well, you know, that they're making too much money doesn't only apply to Uniswap. That also applies to our U.S. government. They are making too much money. Kim.com, he's
like quite literally, they're
literally,
internally.
the machine is just like on overdrive right now. Kim.com kind of summed it up very well. He posted this overnight. We're getting close to the main event, the collapse of the U.S. empire. Big unloading of U.S. debt around the world. Government bonds are now a toxic asset. Gold up 30% in 6 months. Bitcoin's up even more than that. Money printing is all they have left. The Ponzi scheme is over. Expect soaring inflation and a massive crash.
Yeah, so, you know, this comes out with another super chat. ArcBlock aims to remove barriers that have slowed blockchain, and just chilled the ArcBlock message here. But shout out to T for the super
let
chat.
it right into it.
It just.
Hey, you're wearing an ArcBlock t-shirt though, aren't you? Oh, no, you're not.
Oh no, this is like a I don't even know what I'm wearing, to be honest.
That looks like the back of a Essays Suburban.
Hey,
I can
I'll
say
take
that.
it.
I
I'll
can say
take it.
that.
I'll take it. I'll take it. He can. It's clear. It's cleared.
Clear. We're
It's
cleared on that
7
one.
out of 10. We'll stop there because I was going to make another joke. But today, Uniswap Lab, this is coming from the oh my goodness. They received a Wells notice. So, of course, guys, the protocol came out and announced that, yes, they were expecting it. Yes, they do not agree with the SEC. And Eric Voorhees came out and said, honestly, I'm not even sure there is a chilling effect anymore. More tokens exist today at the higher market caps than during the ICO boom. Crypto at all-time highs. DeFi is flourishing. We're building orbital space stations while the SEC sends mean letters through the post. That is kind of, I 100% agree with this. It's like there is so many things the government should be doing with our tax dollars. Because again, the SEC is only doing this because of you watching, because of us in this room. It's our tax dollars that are allowing them to sue the things that we're using, which is just doesn't make sense on any front. And then again, we're trying to like have missions to Mars. Like there's a lot of other things we should be tackling right now, other than just the pride of these institutions. On top of this, we have Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, coming out and saying, I stand, #with crypto. In the November election, will you join? So curious to know, chat, who do you think he's referring to? Who do you think Brian Armstrong is going to be voting for in this election? Because this is a very obvious, this is a very blatant statement and definitely is leaning towards one side is how I, catch that.
You know,
tweet.
I'm almost thinking he's trying to rally the troops for organizational efforts for fundraising. Because, the one thing, you could put some dollars towards the presidential election or some effort. You're not going to get too much bang for your buck. But if you put that towards a local DA or a state representative or John Deaton versus Elizabeth Warren, that's where that dollar can actually have some real effects.
Yeah. And, where it's not having real effect is the fact that Bitcoin rebounds to 70K, shrugging off the hot U.S. inflation print. So, of course, yesterday we covered this a little bit with the CPI report, but it was released, came out hotter than expected, meaning we're more than likely going to be seeing interest rates at a much higher rate for a much longer period of time. But major U.S. equity indices closed the day lower after disappointing CPI numbers, while Bitcoin was up 1%. So we did go into the CPI bearish, and afterwards we have seen a bit of a bounce after dropping to $67,500. So what does this mean? Well, the dip echoed through the multiple asset classes, but Bitcoin gradually erased all its losses and was up over 1% in the past 24 hours, outperforming both U.S. equities and gold, both of which finished the sizable declines for the day. At press time, Bitcoin had slipped a bit from 70K, trading at $69,800. Now, I have to go back to the CME futures gap here in just a second, because there was another one that created. We came down, we filled that traditional one around 67,900, 68,100 just yesterday or 2 days ago. But when we shot back up with the new daily candlestick, we actually opened up a new one. So I'm going to pull that up in 2 seconds here. But
I'm actually in a trade right now. I started this right before the live stream. I meant to lead with it. We just kind of we started talking about Uniswap. So I don't know if I caught the local bottom right here, but you can see that is exactly where I got my trade in. Right now, we are in profit. If you're wondering about yesterday's trade, I did have a take profit on it, and it actually ended up failing. It's not that. That was a scalp short. I had some take profits, and then while I was sleeping, the rest of the trade closed. So I think I closed 20%, 20%, 10%, and then the rest of it ended up swapping out there. So we are in a trade right now. We're on a trade on Blofin. We do have a link down below. I just wanted to share that. Should I move the stop loss into profit? Matt, I'll let you figure it. What should I do here? Should I guarantee a green trade?
Absolutely. I just want to give you so many flowers for trading the plan and planning a trade and doing all this stuff that
I haven't
you're
moved
supposed
it into
to
profit yet. All right. I'll move it into profit real quick as Josh pulls that up. So I think I'm just going to come in a little bit below these wicks. I know it's not much of a profit. I'm going to be looking to move this take profit higher and higher. The next level will be coming in right below these wicks, but I want 2 more 5-minute candles to close and confirm.
We have Bob here coming out on a more depressing note than that awesome trade that you just opened up, saying, how messed up is it that we, the people, act morally, work, help people, and if it wasn't for the government literally turning this country into a third world country, a lot of us, I think is what he meant by that. He just fat-fingered the keyboard there. A lot of us would be prospering. Oh yeah, that's just how Tenda works. I mean, this is it's honestly just lobbying efforts since 1971. We came off the gold standard. It allowed your corporations just with the unlimited money printing coming in. They're like, hey, let's make the regulations that favored us. And it kind of turned into this kleptocracy that has left us in the 99%, now the 99.9%, and it's getting worse. I think you have 16% of Americans can afford a house off of medium income right now, which is a very low record. It's down since I think it was like 60% 10 years ago. And just in the last 3 years, we've gone from 46% to that like initial 16%. I don't know if you have thoughts on the housing market. We got a lot of news to cover today, but that's a great topic.
Just the idea that like we've been incentivized to live in an easy equity trap. Like the government is incentivized to make it possible for people to get credit when it's easy. Then they go do the same thing and print themselves. So they build this ecosystem of it's okay to take on debt and never necessarily repay it. And here we are just owning debt all the time, and now we can't.
Have you guys seen the videos of the confused teenager who calls the parent and they're like, I didn't know $10,000 credit card limit meant I spent it and then had to pay it back. Like they literally do not know what credit means.
Yeah.
There's a handful of these videos floating around. I feel like the U.S. government and the Treasury Department is acting like a confused teenager who doesn't realize the bill is going to come due later.
Yeah, this goes to my point. We're going to get the answers from chat here. Type 1 in chat if you guys trust the government. Type 2 if you don't. And that, I think, will give us a quite clear answer on, how much we trust them with our deficit and our budgets here. But Bitcoin price reclaimed 70K as over $200 million in crypto positions have been liquidated. This just makes sense, especially with the Uniswap announcement with the SEC. Definitely came in and wiped out a lot of those short positions. And we actually called this yesterday on stream. We pulled up signals. We pulled up high block. We were showing you guys the liquidation charts. And if I were to pull up signals right now, looking at this, we could see that we came up exactly to those levels. So we're on the hourly now. but we were paying attention to was this massive, this is again hourly, this EI, this yellow bar right here on the screen. Now, if you guys are from this stream, and if you're not, welcome, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you stop missing out on all the juicy alpha. But this yellow line acts as major support. And when we come, when we create this new support zone, prices love to track to it or rise to it. So it's kind of like your support or resistance level is how you can look at it. It's very easy, comparable to a trading view. Guys, you know this. I don't like all the astrology. I just want finger painting. And that's what this is. It's the color book of crypto trading here. But yeah, now we're down to $69,000. So we came up, I think DZ set some live stop losses for take profit, not stop losses, but take profit zones.
Yeah.
And they hit yesterday. So
yeah. And I'm looking at the small time frame, folks. This is short-term trades, scalp trades, just so I can, I might go get a steak dinner with Matt later. Hey, maybe the trade.
Where was my invite?
Hey, I haven't even invited him yet. You know what? I'm going alone now. But if we look, this is the 7-minute chart. Do not use this as far as, well, what's Bitcoin's price going to be in May? This is not going to tell you that. This will help you maybe determine the next couple hours, next, 20, 30, 45 minutes. You see a little bit of the price moving down, but if you look on the Lux Algo indicator, we see the RSI is slightly heading up. This is what we call bullish divergence. And so this would be a short-term scalp. And if we pull back up, where am I at on taking profits? I have a take profit pretty conservative, very, very conservative. So I'm not trying to, buy me a Tesla with this trade or anything.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the liquidation levels here. So we are about break even now. So if you guys are wondering where price is heading next, where's Bitcoin going? Should it be buy before or after the Bitcoin halving? What I'm really looking at is we have created purple, if you guys know this. Yellow's strong. Yellow is like the strongest magnet you can have. That's going to be great resistance and great support. The purple lines are going to be like less significant support and resistance levels, but you can still see act as a very strong support or resistance. So at 71,500, we've tapped off. This is the 4 hours. So 1, 2, 3 times it got rejected. It came back lower. $69,000 is going to be a strong point of control. So we might be able to find some new support at this range. But when we're looking at our liquidations, what I want to point out, guys, is there's still way more money above us. And so that means if the price goes up to 74,000, and if you guys are colorblind, all you need to look for is the brighter gray area, but the brighter the color, the more money is there. So obviously this range right at about $73,500 is where the most amount of money is. So if prices were to rise to that, the amount of shorts that would be liquidated would be way more than the amount of longs that would be liquidated if price went down. And all you need to realize that means, guys, the market makers, the shadow people kind of behind messing with the strings like that you don't really see. That's how they make their money. They want to liquidate those positions. So I don't know if we'll push to 80K, but I do think we are going to attack that major grouping around the $73,000, $74,000 range.
And it looks like, I'm finding some things on some slightly larger time frames, everybody, if we want to pull this up. So you see a green dot on the 7-minute. I didn't think it would play out on the 10-minute, but whoa, we actually see a green dot right here. I'm actually starting to feel a little bit bullish. It looks like that green dot really wants to form on that 12, but certainly not the 20, right? No, if this thing prints on the 20, that's when you start getting bullish divergences on the larger the time frame, the stronger the move. I'll say that.
Well, while we may be bullish, we got to take a splash of cold water. And we have CryptoCon here on Twitter coming out saying Bitcoin weekly RSI is now retreating from the cycle top zone. The majority of the cycle price action is usually completed by the second and final visit. In the first and second cycles, the second move to the cycle top zone marked the end, while in 2020 just came under the top at 58,000. So let me pull up this chart and show you what I mean by this. First and foremost, let me pull this up. Every time we come up to that top of the range, we repeat it a second time in each bull market. So this is 2013, April and November. We test that RSI twice. There was some massive black swan event that caused people to panic between those two tops. Again, 2017, we tested that range twice. Again, in 2023 or 2021, we hit it twice. Very, very closely, but we hit it twice. Now we have effectively touched that cycle top, and we have retraced a little bit into bull market local high. And more than likely, what they're trying to predict here is based off historical metrics here, we would retest this one more time before going into our bear market afterwards. So
let me just throw cold water on the cold water. So let me throw fire. I'm a
ice bath.
Yeah, Fire Nation. Shout out. This right here is Bitcoin's second top. So this is actually the previous all-time high. So we hit 69K without even coming to the purple zone. So if we did get a double top type scenario, Don't be freaked out if we don't hit these high RSIs.
We have breaking news.
Breaking.
I don't know where people stand on this because I know very little about this person. But OJ Simpson, I know about the white glove. That's about it.
It's
Black glove.
OJ's black glove.
Black
Sorry,
glove. Yeah.
Michael Jackson's the white glove, which now we think is P. Diddy's glove. But anyways, OJ Simpson has died at the age of 76.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The Juice Man.
The
Not
Juice
in
Man.
prison.
No,
He died a free man.
No, he died a free man of
Okay.
cancer at 76 years old.
Looks like our guest is in. Wow, OJ, R.I.P. OJ. I mean, yeah, it's a savage murder that happened in the mid '90s. I think it was '94. You know, Nicole Brown taken down, Robert Goldman taken down as well. He was found guilty in a civil case, but you know, just to be fair, he was found not guilty. I think we all think we know who did it. It's the person, you know, maybe it's the person who wrote the book. If I did it, this is how I would do it. But yeah, I mean, it's the Juice Man was an icon. So wow.
Yeah, it was an iconic figure. But, you know, speaking of iconic figures in the crypto space, today we have none other than CoinDesk Jenn joining us to talk about the dark truth behind Uniswap and the SEC. I know you're a huge fan of Gary Gensler. I'm just kidding here. But Jenn, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. We're excited to have you.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. And I don't know if I have any dark truths to expose, but happy to be here. And I have to tell you, it feels so strange to be on the other side of this interview, the other side of the camera. So if it gets weird, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good. We're used to it completely on our side too. It's kind of like that first time. I don't know if you've been on stage definitely with CoinDesk, but it's like those first stage jitters where you don't know what's happening.
You're like,
but
what are they going to ask
he's great.
Me? Yeah.
Yeah, this guy comes out and he's like, he just gets the crowd bullish, and then you're like, okay, what just happened? And
Well, and I also like to derail interviews. I was probably going to lead with OJ Simpson.
Yeah,
but no, that's not what people want to hear.
Exactly, they want to hear what's happening.
Crazy, yeah. Okay, but continue.
Oh no, you're wrong. I mean, if you have thoughts on OJ, go for it.
I don't.
Perfect. Well, the thoughts we are waiting to hear are definitely going to be around what's happening with Uniswap and the SEC. Why is the SEC coming after DeFi? You know, after the probably thousands of interviews you've been through, what has led us to this moment?
Oh, what has led us to this moment? I think like the conversation with the SEC is such a complicated and tangled one, and I don't think anyone can really decipher what's going on and the rhyme or reason that the SEC has when they're going after some of these companies. And I think we've seen with some of the recent cases they've brought against different firms like XRP and Coinbase, they're not really winning in the courts. And so this is going to be an interesting one. I think we can break down some of the facts. I don't know how much your audience knows about what's gone on with Uniswap, but they received a Wells notice yesterday from the SEC. And this is similar to what happened with Coinbase, right? A Wells notice isn't exactly them saying, we're going to sue you, or we're definitely bringing an enforcement action against you. It's kind of like a letter that says, we might bring an enforcement action against you. And from what I've learned is that it might be requesting some more information from the team over at Uniswap. And so it's looking likely that they'll come for them, but I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? I think that it's clear now that we're not going to get any clear regulation, any clear guidance from the SEC this year. But hopefully after the next election, there will be some light at the end of the tunnel for firms that are operating in the United States.
Well, I have a quick question, kind of a follow-up on that. What is the percentage, or, roughly how often does it happen where you get a Wells notice? Is this happening, 1 out of 10 times we will see enforcement action, or is this, closer to, above 50% of the time?
Well, I don't have an exact percentage for you, but I can say that most of the companies we've learned that have received a Wells notice have received an enforcement action soon thereafter. And the information that's come out about this Wells notice, we don't know exactly what it says, but it's looking very likely. And so I think often when crypto companies get these Wells notices, it's very likely that they're going to share some information and there's going to be some sort of action against them, at least under this SEC. Sorry, I couldn't give you a better answer. I don't know the percentage.
No, I think it's probably up in like the 90% range, which, Elizabeth
I
Warren
would think
should
so. I
maybe.
think it's very high.
Yeah, I was gonna make a terrible joke on her because she never obviously passes any bills. But either way, I think hashtag fire Gary Gensler trends on both Twitter as well as in our chat here, because obviously this has had a huge impact on our price action. If you're looking at Uniswap, it's down like 50% today, and now a lot of people are concerned with the fact: does this mean their dexes, their tokens, their altcoins are next? So a question I have, kind of just from the conversations I've listened to you and your interviews. What have you heard around the context of the SEC stopping? Is this something that they're just taking down Uniswap and they're going to end there? Or is this the beginning of a new regulatory body or regime as we approach presidential elections?
I think at some point there needs to be clear regulation, right? I don't think it's going to happen before elections, but this is a Wells notice. What happens after a Wells notice is they have to bring an enforcement action. And then I can imagine that Uniswap is going to fight this. We saw Hayden Adams say on Twitter yesterday, he's the inventor of Uniswap, that this was kind of expected. It's disappointed. He's disappointed, but he is ready to fight this enforcement action. So I think this is something that could drag on for a very long time, probably until after the elections. And so I think if you're, and this is not financial advice and not based on any kind of like real factual information, you got to go out there and do your own research. But if you are operating on Uniswap, just like if you're operating on Coinbase, I don't think this is going to have a real effect on you in the short term, but not financial advice.
I have a quick question. Now, what about the smaller but close to their size decentralized exchanges? Now, when you have some, overseas small exchange, very small volume, they're not going to be taken down by the government anytime soon. They only have finite lawyers and finite cases that they can pursue at any time. What about, say, like the number 2 exchange, Jupiter, maybe even some, 3 Sushi? Are they starting to worry? What is your thoughts on that? Do you think Jupiter is looking at their mailbox with a lot more anticipation today?
I think they definitely are. I know last year the SEC did bring some enforcement actions against some smaller DeFi firms. There has been some chatter that the SEC is going to be looking at DeFi firms a lot closer. And so I think that they are definitely looking at their inboxes this morning. But I think that they've been aware of this for some time. And so just like Hayden Adams wasn't surprised, I don't think that they are going to be surprised if they get a Wells notice or the SEC comes knocking at their door to get some more information. I think it's interesting though that you said, what about a small DeFi firm that's like based somewhere else? This is really interesting. The SEC is going after DeFi firms that are not based in the US. Maybe their foundation is registered somewhere else. But if you have employees in the United States, if Americans are able to access your products, if they can prove you have any tie or tether to the United States, the SEC under the current regime has jurisdiction. So that is why they're able to target so many companies that aren't necessarily based in the United States.
Yeah, I think luckily as an XRP holder, I think we've been through this plenty of times. And, that's almost exhausted me at this point with, of course, what happened over at Ripple. I used to watch that lawsuit like it was the NBA finals and like track every single moment and article that came out. And then you realize the finals went on for 3 years and they still feel like, they're continuing on with this. But it leads me to kind of the next part of this cycle, where we are heading next. What's going to happen for DeFi? Because you just put out a very interesting podcast release on Bitcoin's relationship with inflation. And this is a huge discussion now because obviously inflation's coming in way hotter than expected. And now people are concerned with higher interest rates for a longer period of time. Is this bad? Is this good for Bitcoin? What should people that are brand new to crypto, that are coming in and hearing all the doom and gloom, what should they know about that relationship between inflation and Bitcoin?
Well, I think that if you're brand new to crypto, you should understand the narrative of Bitcoin as digital gold, right? A lot of folks are into Bitcoin because they think of it almost as a protection for your money. If you want to hedge your bets against inflation, you don't want your money to sit in a bank account and inflate away, put a little bit of it in Bitcoin. Again, I have to say, not financial advice, but I think that's the important thing for people who are new to crypto to know. And I think it's so important for people to go out there and do their own research. Like, of course, listen to shows like this, but really understand what you're getting into and don't FOMO into things. You know, I talk to experts all day on my shows, but I get messages from people. I see people in the comments, like the folks who are in the comments on this show right now, saying they like got into something they didn't know. Maybe they are over leveraged on a position and then they lose a bunch of money. And so I would say if you're brand new to crypto, understand Bitcoin as a type of digital gold, a way to protect your money. No centralized entity is able to get at that Bitcoin. So just like the SEC is potentially coming after Uniswap now, they don't really have anyone to go after for Bitcoin. And so it's a little bit safer. It's probably the safest cryptocurrency you could be dabbling in right now. But just know that and do your own research.
Yeah, I think that leads perfectly into, we know you're very into Web3 as a whole, and everybody watching, I love talking about the technicals, the regulation, but people are probably like, oh, okay, tell me what should I be paying attention to? Because we luckily have the opportunity to be in these interviews, sit down with VCs and CEOs and understand what's really going on in these narratives behind the scenes. Do you have any narratives or certain sectors of the crypto market or Web3 industry that you're really excited for moving into the rest of this, hopefully, what is the rest of this bull run?
Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen with this bull run. This bull run feels a little bit different to me. And so,
it's weird.
Yeah, I am proceeding with caution. I mean, economists and analysts have been calling for a recession for a really long time. And so I've been like dabbling in my mind with what could a bull run look like juxtaposed against a recession. But if we want to talk about something a little more fun, not that that's not fun. Two things that I have spoken about on my show recently that are really interesting to me is the idea of digital identity and what some regions are doing and how they're innovating in digital identity, and then NFTs as utility. But I'll tell you a little bit about a digital identity conversation I recently had with the Secretary of Innovation for Buenos Aires. And they're working with ZK Sync. They've built this whole they've built a protocol so that the citizens of Buenos Aires can have their identity documents on chain. So right now you have your birth certificate and marriage certificate on chain. It is there. It is verifiable. It is there forever. I don't know if any of you have ever had to get a birth or marriage certificate if you've lost it, but it is super annoying and hard dealing with government agencies for this. And Buenos Aires has created a solution. And so when I do interviews like that and we talk about things like that, and then we hear about the SEC, who is just like so rigid, so reluctant to move forward and create these clear rules, it's kind of upsetting. Governments in other regions are moving forward. They're introducing cool use cases for blockchain. And so
does that scare you at all though with digital identities, CBDCs? Is this just another control aspect of having that information, having that data on chain through a private agency?
Or is it Javier Milei, maybe doing the opposite, maybe trying to make it a little bit more transparent? Where do you think that does lie, with Buenos Aires specifically?
Yeah, I think it's two separate conversations. I think CBDCs definitely do scare me a little bit. The one great use case I see for CBDCs, because it's tax season, is like, wow, how easy would it be to do your taxes if everything was just there in public? But yeah, the privacy conversation around CBDCs is definitely something that is scary. I think what we're seeing happen with CBDCs in China is an indicator as to like what could happen. Like, do we want the government to have such control over our money? Do we want the government to be able to freeze funds for, I don't know, like let's say I jaywalk and the government decides they don't like jaywalking and they can see me do that. Do I want them to be able to freeze my money? Like, no. So that is definitely a scary conversation. And I don't think that as a society we should move in that direction. But I think using zero knowledge proofs to store documents like birth certificates, marriage certificates, driver's licenses on chain in a way where the information isn't available to everyone is actually better, right? It's a transparent system, but using zero knowledge proofs, I can say, hey, I can prove I'm 21 years old. I can go into this bar, but you don't actually get to see my address. You don't get to see my birthday. And so in a way, I feel like it is safer than the way we currently do things.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value to it. There's a lot of benefits, and blockchain as a whole, it just needs to be adopted by every single Web2 agency or company that exists today anyways. And we see all the value that's coming to that. So with digital identity, that was number one. There was digital identity. You said there was two things though. So what was the second part?
Second thing. Oh, I have a show coming out today, shameless self-promotion. You can watch it on CoinDesk. But I did an interview with, I don't know, are you guys heavy metal fans?
Yeah, we have
yes.
Drew.
You are?
Go
We
ahead,
actually
take
have
over.
we have a singer here joining us today.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
what the
So
heck? Drew changed into Nick. Yeah, no, we have one
Sorry.
of the creators here. He's in a heavy metal band and he's a great singer.
Okay, so Avenged Sevenfold has been doing such really innovative and cool things for their community. And I met Matt, he's the lead singer of Avenged Sevenfold back in 2021 at NFT NYC. Yeah, and I interviewed him again recently, and we talked about the progress they've made since 2021 to now. And it was such a refreshing conversation when you see like these celebrities and influencers who maybe try one project during the bull market and then they like disappear, they fall by the wayside, the project didn't work out. And it, as a mainstream audience watches this, I think they would watch and say like, oh yeah, crypto's a fad, Web3 is not a thing, I don't know what NFTs are, this is super confusing to me. But Avenged Sevenfold has four full-time engineers on their team working on building out this like templated ecosystem for musicians to be able to like fund their project, not be tied to the constraints that labels have on artists, and really like embrace what the digital era can offer to musicians. And I think it's super, super interesting, and they've like really proven something that is awesome. I'm using a lot of fluff words now, but you should go and listen to Matt. He talks about it.
You're excited.
In a way
No, you're
more
excited. Yeah. No, we'll have to
intellectual
watch
way
that
than
too.
Yeah, if you want to check that out, that's at CoinDesk/TV, correct?
Wow. If you just go to CoinDesk.com and you go to the video section, it will be there.
Yeah. Believe in
there's
CoinDesk.
me.
Maybe it's .com/TV. Maybe it's /TV. But
Yeah, so we have Avenged Sevenfold. We have Taylor Swift's Blockchain Eras tour next year, so that will be exciting.
that new album drops in like a
against
week.
George Soros. Yeah, no, that'll be huge. I think this leaves us perfectly, with. I'm very curious to know, because I've seen your interviews. I can't even tell you how many times over the years now at this point. What are your favorite projects in crypto? What excites you the most? You said digital identity is definitely one of those, just from a recent interview. But what really excites you about crypto?
I ask this question to people all the time, so I should have this answer. I think just given how excited I just got, I got into the space not because I was trading, but because I was a creator. I've been a creator for a really, really long time. I've worked in both editorial content and branded content and created my own content, much like everyone sitting here. And when I started learning about blockchain technology, I was like, wow, like here's a way that like I can prove ownership over my content. Here's a way that I could potentially one day get credit for the content that I create and other people use. And here's a way that maybe one day I can get paid when other people use my content. And so that's how I got into crypto. And so it has a really near and dear place in my heart. That's why I'm like so excited about what Avenged Sevenfold is doing and the use cases they're creating for other musicians. Like Matt told me, musicians are calling him all the time and being like, how are you guys doing this? Like, how are you getting your fans to understand what's going on? And I went to the website earlier today, and the first thing that they ask you when you go to the Avenged Sevenfold website, I never thought I'd be talking about heavy metal for so long, is to connect your wallet. And I think that is the future of the internet. You try to access a community or something that you really love, and you connect your wallet, and then you can experience that in a really different way. And so that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the technology solving a problem for creators that previously restrained them. And it's doing the same in financial ecosystems. And I would say like the one thing that I'm worried about is that we recreate these like centralized systems that have held people down for so long. And so like that's what I want builders to be aware of as they try to solve these problems, that we don't recreate the same problems that we're trying to solve.
It's definitely a beautiful process. That's what excites, I think, anybody that spends ounce of time in crypto realizes most of the products we're building in this industry are just products that should have already existed for consumers over the last 3 decades. As we've watched Mark Zuckerberg sell off our data, as we've seen, God knows what OpenAI is doing with Larry Summers on the board, with that data and those large language models, right? This is a way for retail to come in. For me was, and I know DZ as well, was gaming. We were, Twitch streamers, and we're like, wow, imagine if these gamers had a much deeper connection to these games and actually were incentivized for putting all of this time. I mean, thousands of hours. That hurts me to even say, but we've put thousands of hours into games that we may never even pick up again. And if we had some type of integration, just like, Avenged Sevenfold, these musicians can have with their audience, that is the beauty of crypto. That is, it's being able to provide that transparent, open source platform that just benefits everybody. But Jen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. We got a lot of news to break down. I'm sure we're going to be hearing about in your podcast as well. If there's anything else you'd like to let our audience know, of course, shameless plugs are welcome.
What time is that show on Coinbase? And so we had someone confirm Coinbase, coindesk.com/TVs where you can find it.
Thank you, audience, thank you, producers, for finding that link for me. You can watch the show on coindesk.com/TV. It's coming out this afternoon. It's usually published around 1 p.m. So you can find it there. It is on demand. It will be on our YouTube channel. And if you want to follow me, you can do that on Twitter. I'm at Jenn Sanasie, and Jen is with 2 N's.
Well, Jen, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right. I know someone, not everyone was happy that we brought up the Juice Man. He's a controversial figure, but I just pulled up a meme coin because someone said, white Ford Bronco is running. I was like, that's kind of funny. Well, I looked up OJ. Someone actually made an OJ coin that launched on the 24th. So someone made it 5 days ago. And Nick, you're not ready for this. This little pump right there, that's a 4X. Just wait, everybody. You're looking at a 70. Oh my God, that is an 80X. Someone made an 80X. Let's actually do the real math here. Someone made 1 Solana turn into 80 Solana in 24 minutes right there. But wait, we're not done. Someone probably bought the top. I was looking, there's people putting in 5 Solana, 1 Solana, 2. Maybe it was Matt, say you bought the top and then you fell and you just kept falling. You kept falling. Looks like it's hard to see. 90%. So someone put in 10 Solana, walked away with 1. Hey, meme coins, everybody. It's a little bit crazy out there.
I tried looking it up, but there is no chemo Solana coin yet. So that chart may need some help with that, but a little too soon maybe on the joke there. Historical patterns in Bitcoin's fees. Let's see if that goes over everybody's head. In Bitcoin's fees surface amid the halving countdown, guys, you're almost out of time to buy crypto. The Bitcoin halving's right around the corner. I'm excited. We've been talking about this for literally the last 4 years because it's what we all wait for every single 4 years. Data from Glassnode shows that Bitcoin transaction fees in 2024 have exhibited a general downtrend, but not without intermittent spikes. So looking at this, presently the average fee for block stands about 0.4 Bitcoin, remaining close to the cycle lows, having recently risen from 0.10. So I'm just showing you a little bit more about this and what this means down in this show today on the charts, just breaking down what kind of points and levels I want to watch if you guys are entering the crypto market today. But Bitcoin work is in progress. Miners are continuing to mine. More and more miners are hopping in, and 90% of Bitcoin ETF inflows now are still in retail. So this is coming from Vanix CEO. We have another super chat that is from T. I'm not reading it out this time. You're not going to get to me.
They really like that ARC block.
Bro,
we'll give them a name.
You should take that ARC block. You should take that $10 and put it into it. There you go. If you truly believe in it so much. Speaking exclusively to Cointelegraph at Paris Blockchain Week, Vanix CEO Jan Van Eyck. It's a great name.
Yeah.
Jan Van Eyck. Jean Van Eyck. I don't even know how to say it properly, but said the retail sector has primarily been responsible for inflows into the spot Bitcoin. Again, going back to the trust issues. It's not about the institutions. It's about you. And of course, guys, the banks and the institutions understand this. This is the greatest financial product to launch in recent history, probably since 1975's Jack Bogle's index funds with Vanguard. So we're seeing huge progress here. The inflows are not stopping. And guess what? They're starting to open up in China. But here is BlackRock's head of active ETFs saying a whole new group of investors are now thinking about Bitcoin. This is about 50 seconds. Listen to this here really quick. We have sound.
Nope.
We don't have sound. So I got to reset Sound of silence. Speaking of,
We just got to find a new block.
didn't Avenged Sevenfold redo
Bronco,
that? Come on. That was a good one.
Bronco
No, that wasn't. That was
jumped
Disturbed.
170x. Bronco jumped 170x. Everybody. So if
Sell.
you're wondering on that
That
one,
is providing
Yeah,
sell
exposure to
now.
Bitcoin. They liked the asset, but they
yes,
wanted
get out of there.
All right,
Get
we
out of
have
there.
Okay, we're
the
good.
sound here. I'm going to unplug it from the PC though, so everybody can hear.
Nope, you messed it up.
I messed it up one more time. Third time's the charm. Just like the SEC suing all these companies. Maybe they'll finally win.
Might have to leave it in. I'm not sure.
No, it's just broken now. It just hates me. Oh, you have to leave it in? Man, VMix guys, don't recommend.
Like Nicki Minaj says, you got to sleep in it.
Well, either way, he's like, hey, listen,
You gotta-
listen. A whole new group of investors. This is BlackRock's, because of BlackRock in my suit. We never called it a money laundering index. We have been right this entire time, and we are bringing an exposure to a whole new audience. So you guys should thank us for, taking your Bitcoin. That is what I get from this. I think that was all right.
Yeah,
That's pretty
you
good.
seem like a BlackRock executive.
Oh, thank you. Well, maybe I'll be a politician then one day. Just in Wall Street firms with a combined $15 billion in AUM bought exposure to Bitcoin ETFs in Q1. More. VMix
I think you did, right?
is open. This thing is, let me move it to the side there. Is that better? We can try ASMR while we wait. AUM 50. He's like, no, we're good. We're good here. 15 billion, guys. That's huge numbers in inflows still coming in. MicroStrategy's bold Bitcoin bets pays off as short sellers face $2 billion in losses. So this just reminds me of GameStop all over again. There's some idiot institutions out there that, again, are stuck in their traditional ways with their traditional friends on their traditional golf courses, with their traditional marketing firms, with their traditional VCs. Get where I'm going with this. That need to get with the times. And this is just an obvious situation taking place. According to Router's Wednesday report, citing data from S3 Partners, a prominent financial firm, or data marketplace based in the United States, the short sellers who wagered against the business intelligence company have accumulated a total loss of $1.92 billion as of March 2024. So if you all want to give a great FU to these elitists, go buy Bitcoin, hold, and make them lose more money. It is that simple.
Here's MicroStrategy's stock. Wow, I did not realize it is so high. That thing is up to 1,500 right now, and it is up 355% just in the last 12 months. What are your thoughts on MicroStrategies as a stock play?
It's levered Bitcoin. So they take out a whole bunch of debt in order to go buy a lot of Bitcoin. So it's like having a little bit of an asymmetric upside to Bitcoin. A lot of short sellers, like Josh was saying, kind of like a GameStop play. Very interesting to see those dynamics. Michael Saylor is not a genius. I have to say this over and over again. He just buys Bitcoin. He just happened to buy Bitcoin at the right time and then just keep doing it. But now he's doing it with debt, so it makes it a little bit extra risky. So yeah, that's my thought on MicroStrategy.
I mean, it is down significantly from its high Wednesday, March 27th. That was a kind of Bitcoin local top. That thing was almost $2,000. It was $1,919. Now it's all the way down to $1,500, which is kind of a lot for a traditional stock.
Yeah, I look at it as just healthy pullbacks and market transitions. This is why I think every single financial analyst continues to get things wrong. And, when we first started doing content, years ago at this point, this was before 2021. But like when I would sit down and have an interview with like a CEO of a financial firm, or like if I'd have someone that has a PhD or like an economics degree, and they're sitting there like, you don't know what you're talking about, kid. You let us handle the money here. Okay. You're stupid. We need more mortgage-backed securities and weird bundled, debt issues that just don't work. And they explain all these complicated processes. And it's like, money's very simple. Okay. You have a buyer and you have a seller, and that market is going to be determined by that buyer and that seller. The problem with all these markets and why they hate crypto is all that transparency. We know exactly who the buyers and the sellers are. It's all accountable. It's all on a ledger. It's all transparent, right? In traditional finance, that's not how it works. You have layers and layers and layers before the buyer ever reaches the seller. So for a stock like MicroStrategy, right, that is heavily reliant on a lot of Bitcoin, it's going to affect a lot of their stocks. Now the Bitcoin development. These traditional tech companies, all of their friends, their families, their fellow companies, even their competitors, probably hear about major information before the rest of the public does. So this is where this is why politicians make so much money. Politicians make no money off their salary. And then they come out and they're like, we need a raise. We make like no money. It's like, dude, shove a sock in your mouth because you're making $4 to $5 million off trades from inside trading because they lobby. This comes all the way back to lobbying. So, for me, it's just like with MicroStrategy and these tech companies and everybody that's going to be starting to move Bitcoin to their balance sheets, it's this breakaway from that traditional system. And we're now seeing a huge advancement in both AI and in technology, and this new trend of, which is so ironic and kind of hypocritical at the same time, is the fact that we are relying on trust again, even though crypto was supposed to be trustless. So the libertarian beliefs, like if you go back to Satoshi Nakamoto, we were creating this trustless system. But the reality is everybody trusts this, so to speak, trustless system. And that is what the banks are so scared of. That's where I always go back to. They're scared because people are leaving. They don't trust
they
them
don't
with their money.
understand when they say, trust me, bro, that makes me trust you less. I want a trustless, verifiable system.
But now they're going, well, it doesn't, you're forced to trust me. You have to trust me.
Well,
DC.
then they say, well, you're wrong for thinking that way. You should trust the powers that be. You should just trust them blindly, trust them inherently. And we've learned, well, maybe that's not the best case.
And by the way, since you're not giving me your money, DZ, that's illegal.
Yeah. We do have a $2 super chat. Thoughts on Suku, possible price prediction. I got in at 22 cents. I think that thing could run up close to $1. So it's a wallet play. If they start bringing on some of the hot tokens, bring on base, stuff like that, it could be pretty big. Or if they lean into the airdrop ecosystem, it's going to be big.
It passes the DZ double top test if you look at the chart.
Okay, well, I actually had the chart up. Oh yeah, that does. That is now, Matt, what do you think of this metric? I have a theory. And so if a coin put in a second all-time high in the second half of 2021, that means there was actual interest. So smart money leaving the system, and you'll see a lot of the not as good coins. They didn't put in a second all-time high. In fact, they kind of peter in lower than they did in March or April. What are your thoughts on that? Just broad generalization. Is it too broad?
No, I think it's really good. I think one of the biggest important things for people to remember in this ecosystem is time in the market is really, really powerful for a lot of these tokens. So if you've been through 2 cycles and you still have provenance and you still have people in demand looking for your actual token, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to go up in the future. A lot of these tokens trading at 80%, 90% on the dollar from where their all-time highs were. And I think that's where you really need to look. New tokens that come out, it becomes very difficult to gauge what the right price and value is. But when it's down 80%, you're like, there's a whole bunch of ways we can go here to get some upside. So I think it's a really good way to think about it.
Yeah, retail will look at an old price chart and say, it used to be $1. It'll be $1 again. Basically.
I would pull up that chart based off that though and click on market cap because it's going to definitely...
It looks good too.
Yeah, it still looks good.
Well, it's only a 2x compared to a 5x.
Wait, what?
It's a big difference. So if you click on market cap for Suku...
All right, yeah, it is a 5x on price. And if you look at market cap,
it's like a 2x.
So it's been diluted.
It's been heavily diluted.
Yeah. So then you have to kind of change that and think again, okay, well, how high can this go? Exactly to your point. Is it a 2x or a 5x where we were previously? And that's not going to match the chart if there's been a ton of dilution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so again, great point. It hit the second volume spike, though, which is very important.
I did say a 4x, so I'm looking around $1, actually close to a 3x. So yeah, I don't have the moon math. I think there'd be a lot of psychologically, a lot of people like to sell a token when it gets close to $1. So I'll be looking for my first exits, within 20% of that range.
Well, speaking of psychology, that might be the reason why Bitcoin has taken a bit of a back test here because Bitcoin Google searches just surpassed Taylor Swift and Beyonce. So does that mean we should take profits if Bitcoin's more popular than the most popular people on the planet?
What's up with them making Beyonce country music a thing? That's what people really want to talk about.
That's terrible. Let's just put that there. Let's just get that. That's not country. But 2 is I don't think this will be this. This won't. We only have this for a short time because Taylor Swift's new album is going to drop, and let's just be real. The Google searches are going to go through the roof again, and it's going to be a repeat.
You got to wait for professional players to start saying they're going to take their paychecks in Bitcoin.
Yeah, true.
That's my favorite one.
That's the new metric. I like that.
When a rookie running back decides that they're going to take their 3-year contract in Bitcoin,
you're like, top.
Somebody's going to break an ankle.
Top signal. Very, very, very toppish. We have huge news. Bitcoin spot ETF applications for Chinese companies, as well as talking about managing $1 trillion in yuan in Hong Kong to be approved next week. So next week's looking very bullish. And you're also looking at, guess what's next week? Well, I guess it's 9 days away, but is the Bitcoin halving? So now we have 2 major news events taking place next week. This might FOMO a lot of retail in China over into the markets because they want that exposure to Bitcoin before that Bitcoin halving, and honestly, that might equate to a lot of inflows next week, which is very bullish.
Matt, you're a lot closer to this world. Those who don't know, Matt has a little bit of a background working with financial advisors. You are a registered investment advisor. You're RIA with the company ARC into the Block. What is it again?
Block 3 Strategy.
Block 3 Strategy. What are your thoughts on ETFs in Hong Kong? Is there going to be a gold rush similar to Wall Street, or is it not comparable?
Great question. One of the things I was reading or listening to yesterday was the fact that getting money out of China right now is very, very difficult because of they just have such controls over how money leaves and how it's flowing. And they need to keep money in there because they've got a lot of retail and real estate issues that are going on. And this ETF is going to be a very lucrative way, an easy way for people to move money out of China. So this is like a very interesting thing to see through Hong Kong, but it could also have a lot of demand because people can now use it as a mechanism to get elsewhere.
Can it become too popular for its own good?
I don't think that could be a problem. I don't
like
see
it
that.
pisses off Beijing, essentially. Like too much money's leaving the system.
Well, if maybe they shut it down, all that money would have left. So the money will probably stay in the crypto ecosystem, which is kind of interesting. But
yeah.
I don't know that would be an issue. But we'll see. Hopefully it just gets
mixers,
approved.
VPNs, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very interesting thought process. And if you get caught, you just disappear as a CEO for a few years and then come back like Alibaba. But we have a current situation taking place in markets right now. I definitely want to get Matt's thoughts on here. I want that financial advice. No, I'm just kidding. But number one, this is how markets are working, guys. This is crazy. This is ludicrous. This is why every traditional finance guy that's speaking to you goes, I know what's happening. They don't know what's happening. The Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, been wrong. The SEC has been completely wrong. Your Federal Reserve, completely wrong on inflation. Current situation right now, bonds are trading like rates are about to hike, that they're coming, right? The interest rate, the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates. That is what bonds are expecting. However, gold traders are trading like rate cuts are coming. So the opposite. They're believing that the Federal Reserve is going to cut interest rates. Stocks are trading like there's going to be they're trading like the soft landing is completely gone. There's going to be no soft. There's going to be no landing at all. We're just going to just tank actually into the floor below us. Then you have oil prices trading like the Fed avoided a recession, which makes no sense because, again, that recession, I think we all can see it at the end of the tunnel. And housing prices are rising like interest rates are at 3%. Nothing adds up here. This doesn't make sense. This is, again, why middle income can't afford anything because if you obviously not include oil, your energy costs, your housing costs, your food, well, inflation's good actually. So
I was listening to me and Matt were both in a spaces and they're talking about how they got the recent data for inflation. And one of the things I found pretty fascinating was 30% of the rental numbers come from asking homeowners, what do you think it'd rent for?
Yeah.
Well, what? That doesn't make any sense. And now I really start thinking, okay, there's definitely manipulation of the data. So when you see, the government's saying, these things cost 3% more than they did a year ago, and you're like, that doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. And trust your gut.
Yeah, and it's really important to remember here that all of these dynamics are happening in an election year and a very contested election year. So any way that the Biden administration can work to not cook the books, but juice the numbers in a way that make things look better than they actually are. We've talked about how the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the information that comes out about jobs reports are often, coincidentally right in line where they need to be, or we see, some of these numbers that just like they're trying to put liquidity back in the market. They're trying to make it less risky, and they're trying to find a reason to lower rate cuts and make people feel richer. The challenge is now you see these CPI numbers come out, and while they're not like super, super high, the things that we see from like a gas perspective, car prices, housing prices, consumer goods, those things are what people are feeling when they go to the grocery store and they see $10 eggs. And that's what's really driving that.
And it's so interesting because, when you look at the VIX, if anybody doesn't know what this is the volatility index for the S&P 500. It's at like lows. And so it brings me back to like, if you're watching financial experts on somebody say, oh yeah, no, the recession's here. Yeah, they were screaming that in 2021, 2022, even 2023. You saw that VIX rising. They were winning for a little bit. Their books were selling out, right? Fearmonger. The recession is coming. And then now we're at these lows, like really low, comparable to, of course, 2020 or 2020 and 2008 here. So are we about to get a reversal in this index? This is what people are anticipating, which when you get that reversal, guys, when it spikes, that is when you're in a recession. Right, that's when the fear is here. And you'll notice there's a few of them that just take place over the consecutive years, but we are due for another spike here. So will that come before or after elections? That is a very good question. And just as I agree with both of you, generally you're going to see a lot of that. They can argue it's not manipulation of, data. They're just going to choose the data that best fits their narrative, right? Because the data is all out there. But either way, we have the FDIC's chief here saying that the U.S. is ready to handle the collapse of any major Wall Street bank. So here is we got a head shaking here. What are your thoughts on this? Can the U.S. save a Wall Street bank collapse?
Any major Wall Street bank. Okay, so the last time this happened was $800 million, right, with Lehman Brothers. And they had to kind of figure out what they were going to do in that perspective to save us from a financial crisis. And I agree with what you're saying. It feels kind of like we're playing like a game of Jenga. And when you do it outside with the barbecue, those towers get really, really heavy, and those blocks hurt. And that's what this feels like. It feels like we're putting holes in the Jenga box right now.
Yeah. Let me, someone's keeping me consistent here. They said, admit you're wrong. Quit getting your info from Twitter. Quit getting your info from X, says Metaspawn. Metaspawn, you are right. It's not 30%. I did a little bit of a deep dive. It's 27%. It's a 26.79% owner's equivalent rent of residences. And then this is what a homeowner would say rent that would have to be paid in order to substitute an owned home as rental property. That's a fancy way of saying, what do you think it'd rent for? But yeah, 27%. I said 30%. I'll go ahead and commit seppuku now.
I don't even know what you said was wrong. We've covered so much since then. But either way, going back to exactly what we were just talking about, though, the U.S. President Joe Biden comes out and is talking about a time for a rate cut. So trying to get markets juiced and excited about the elections. They are right here.
I did that.
So
is that the I did that photo?
Yeah. I guess this is this photoshopped? Is this from Twitter? Let me see where it's from. This is from Google News. Okay. Either way, hey, speaking of Meta, though, no, it's Meti down there. On top of this, though, let's move on. I want to get to some altcoins. Let's get over here. So we have Pro XRP Lawyer. Shout out to, again, the GOAT here, Johnny Deaton, who has been a huge spearhead in the regulatory battle and leader against these corrupt leaders. I
Looks
would
like
honestly
he's about
say
to spear somebody in the head.
He and that person, Senator Elizabeth Warren, on her regulatory stance. So he came out and obviously said in his recent statements that her demands for tighter crypto regulation highlight the growing gap between crypto activists and lawmakers. Deaton's remarks, made in response to Warren's call for a more stringent oversight, emphasized the complexities of blockchain technology and the need to tailor regulatory approaches. So he pretty much just said, Elizabeth, sit down. You are not educated. And that is honestly pretty valid. FBI investigates Bitcoin meeting after major theft. So FBI is probing now, like aliens, developer meeting following $3.6 million Bitcoin theft. But you had something on that. DC.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's the classic example. I bring it up all the time. Stupid or liar. He's saying she's either being stupid or she's a liar. Chat, type in stupid or liar. What do you think the senator is being right now? I know how I feel.
Not mutually exclusive.
Not mutually exclusive.
Both is also an option. We also
Secret option C.
Well, this FBI probe is, of course, raising concerns with the Bitcoin community, spotlighting the ongoing challenges in protecting digital assets against cyber threats. The FBI's actions requesting details from the developer meeting highlight the tension between the cooperating with law enforcement and maintaining privacy, which is a good point. And it's going to be a constant free speech and rights to privacy and all that are just always going to be touchy subjects here. We have a handshake agreement on the screen right now. Where's the headline for this? Brazil backs Bangladesh bid to join BRICS. So shout out to anybody in here that's been following BRICS. BRICS is definitely a narrative that is growing stronger and stronger. I think it has heavily been used to fearmonger, though, and sell books because BRICS is not at all growing at a rate that is going to wipe out the United States within a year or 2 years or even a decade. The trade is all done in the US dollar. I think the second is going to be euro. And if you wanted to talk about any competitor, believe it or not, it's Trudeau's dumbass up in Canada. So, for BRICS to come out and worry me, it's not necessarily going to do it from this front. Where it's actually going to be worrying me a little bit more is going to be China with Taiwan. And that is Xi Jinping constantly saying there is going to be a relationship. The family reunion is going to come back. There is no discussion to be had where Taiwan does not come back to be in the hands of China again, because the United States has been obviously trying to democratize it heavily. And,
on a long enough time scale, it just seems like it's a certainty, just if you look at it geographically, just on a long enough time scale. I mean, do you think it'll be separate 100 years from now?
Just remember that 95% of all the chips for AI are made in Taiwan, which is like a total incentive for them to try to get that.
Quick question. Sam Altman is trying to change that. They say he is, maybe a top 2 builder in the world. I mean, do you think he will be one of the few people that can really tackle that challenge head on and succeed?
The biggest problem is going to be fabrication. It's massively expensive to build these up in a way that there's economies of scale. And that's why TSMC is able to do that. And the book Chip Wars, totally recommend it. Very interesting
Great
understanding.
book.
About how this whole ecosystem came about and why Taiwan is so important.
I thought that book was about the guy that invented the hot Cheeto. He was a janitor.
He was a janitor. The different one, that was Flamin' Cheetos, worth $200 million. And I've seen him speak. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be what did he see him speak?
So he was at a company of mine, and he talked about how he would bring home these chips, and his wife had the salsa, and he would put the salsa in the bags and take it to work, and then people would eat it.
It's a great movie. I think you can catch it on Amazon for free. Michael Pena, I think, plays the character. No, that's the astronaut one. It's a good movie though. Chat real quick. What is your favorite chip? I'll go first. Doritos. If I want to eat poison, you know what, man? A good tortilla chip from a Mexican restaurant though. It's hard to beat that.
Yeah. But on top of that, what I wanted to say was that's where you have to give credit. I have to give credit to Biden on that one. Is the CHIPS Plan 4 Act? They are trying to pull it back, but that's also why the counter argument is Taiwan is going to be taken by China within the next few years because they're running out of time.
I wouldn't go that far.
That's the argument because
I say closer to 20 years.
It takes 3 to 5 years, I believe, for the production of the semiconductor factories. You have TSMC and them all building and onboarding in Ohio. I think all across the U.S.
China plays the games patiently, and so why would they rush that and lose what goodwill they do have in a lot of parts of the world? And so if you know it's going to happen eventually in say 20, 30, 40, 50 years, why would you play your hand and do it in 3 or 4 years and piss the whole world off? If you already have a patient culture where you think in things in centuries and not 4-year election cycles, you're able to play the long game.
What if the U.S. forces their hand like Ukraine and Russia?
They won't.
Well, they use 5-year cycles.
They toe the line very carefully with Taiwan. They will continue to do that.
I would agree so. But again, there is the argument that is what's pushing us here with BRICS over the next few years. So again, it's something I honestly couldn't even tell you guys where that's heading. But right now, I do think this is also why semiconductors might become that commodity, why AI is so important, and why that tech sector is going to be so valuable. Because especially if anything happens in that region, every single AI system out there is going to become more and more needed. You're going to have, again, the whole car issue we had where everybody was fleeing from COVID. Cars went through the roof. Damn, I'm eating Doritos now. What the heck? Looks like you predicted Laserface's real life scenario here. But Coinbase UK announces Apple Pay integration in hopes of greater crypto adoption. That's huge. MetaMask is, I wanted to rant on this a little bit. MetaMask, when are you dropping your airdrop? If you're watching, consensus, get it. Just do it. Just do it. We've been waiting for it for 4 years. Please do the airdrop. You owe us.
Yesterday's enforcement action adds friction. So if anything, it is less likely now.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, Ethereum skyrockets in massive whale transaction amid price recovery. Getting a little bit of a bounce off all of that markets. We had Chainlink function is now live on Base, the layer 2 network incubated by Coinbase. Another big bullish move for Chainlink and the CCIP. I believe this integration with real world API data all on top of Base as probably the most hyped community out there is seriously going to be really big, I think, for a lot of the DEXs that are part of that, whether that be an XSwap or a chain swap or anything that's within that CCIP community. I'm paying attention to their Buildle or their build. Is it Buildle as well?
Buildle.
I think it's Buildle as well. So just like Black, would you look at that? It's the owners of Coinbase, the owners of Circle. A lot of similarities taking place there with real world assets, which is why shout out to Kula DAO, guys. If you haven't checked out Kula DAO already, we just dropped an amazing video on them for today's episode sponsor, which is an impact investment vehicle using blockchain technology where they're taking real world assets and moving it all on chain. Kula connects global investors with a diverse array of real world assets through the power of blockchain. Kula is reshaping the narrative of natural resources, mining natural resources by profit sharing and providing governance to its local communities, because that is honestly just a really big, beautiful part of being able to tokenize all of these real world assets. And a great example is Americans not being able to afford houses. The reality is you have to go through many different loopholes. You have to have good credit. You have to, pay the realtor, pay the brokerage, go through all this legal stuff to actually purchase and get the title of a home. With blockchain, fractionalizing these things in the future is where we're trending to go, because there's going to be a point where you need to buy a house with 4 to 5 of your friends. That's not really possible today. But with fractionalizing these real estate and these real world assets, that will be made possible in the future and will allow, again, retail people like us to compete with these big institutions that are just coming in with cash offers, pushing everybody out, forcing them to rent, and then just rinse and repeat that cycle here.
And I see really, really cool things happening with DAOs with like apartment complexes and stuff like that, where you put in $100, you finance a real estate project, and then you maybe have something that's giving you income for the rest of your life that you could potentially give to your kids.
Rent to own.
Yeah, or even something like that. Bob from accounting has the alpha. It's the Cape Cod jalapeno. That's definitely
Cape Cod jalapeno. We have senators in Paraguay here propose selling the country's energy surplus to miners instead of giving it to Brazil or Argentina. I think that's a genius move, converting your wasted and excess energy into a net value through Bitcoin mining. could be very profitable for the nation itself of Paraguay. I also think Brazil and Argentina should be doing that with a lot of their excess energy because they have tons in their mines and their local natural resources. And I'm sure their power infrastructure is not the healthiest. So there's a lot of value that can be driven there.
And one last thing I do want to share before we go. Meta Money got a lot of people into. Nick, do you remember? Getting paid to walk?
Steppin', yeah.
Steppin', that's right. Steppin' just did a $30 million airdrop. Folks, dust off that old Solana wallet. You might have 10, 20, 30 bucks, something like that. So yeah, big shout out to the shoes NFT. I think I'm gonna have to download the app and
we should get the shoes, put treadmills in here, and we'll walk while we live stream and make money.
God, I'm sitting on shoes. I don't even know if they're worth anything. Could be like worth $1. Could be worth $100. I don't even know.
It's not even worth. It's like the gym. You have the membership, but you just don't use it.
Hey, I did cancel my. I don't want to get. I did though. I did.
What is it? Screw Planet Fitness, Stacks, Bitcoin layers, and the Nakamoto upgrade, guys. That's coming soon. Microsoft AWS pledged $17.9 billion to develop AI technology in Japan as part of the U.S. deal. But what I wanted to leave off with was the traditional face slap of the SEC to Uniswap.
This is
boom. Uniswap takes no damage.
There's Uni. Now Uni's about to step up to Gary.
Gary Gensler is in the blue shirt. Boom! Knocked out. That is how these lawsuits tend to go with their Wells notice. And he is not thinking he can't see anymore, guys. That's what we got for you today.
And now we're flagged.
We'll see you tomorrow.